as we receive the Vice Chancellor's procession. Vice Chancellor's procession, directors of academic programs and institutes, deans of schools and faculties, the Dean of Student Affairs, College of Medical Sciences, the Provost, College of Postgraduate Studies, the inaugural lecturer, principal officers of IBODUN University, Vice Chancellor's procession. While we remain standing, we will take the first and second stanza of the national anthem and thereafter the university anthem. The national anthem. greatest Uniben, greatest of the greatest Uniben. Please, you may be seated. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Doba Omorege, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, ably represented this evening by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Victor Igbonereka. Your Excellencies, top government functionaries, Your Royal Highnesses, former Vice Chancellors of our university and heads of institution, other principal officers of our great university, the provosts, deans, and directors, the inaugural lecturer and family, professors emeriti, other esteemed professors and erudite scholars here present, my Lord Spiritual, greatest Uniben staff and students, invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you heartily to this 344th in the inaugural lecture series of the University of Benin, to be delivered by none other than a distinguished scholar and academic, Professor MATHIAS ABIODUN EMOKRAE, Professor of Clinical Chemistry. Please a round of applause for our inaugural lecturer on the topic, disappearing sperm. It's even worse than what you think, but it was not so from the beginning. May I now invite the registrar, Mr. Demola Bobola, to introduce the Vice Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor's procession. The registrar, sir.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, I want to plead in my usual way to be allowed to continue to abide by the protocol as duly established by the representative of the PRO of the university. This has been properly done, and I feel that it's better for us to continue along that line. All courtesies duly extended. It is my singular honor today to present to us the principal officers of this university, and particularly starting from our own very revered Vice Chancellor, who is a very distinguished scholar, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, man who has decided at this particular time to pilot the affairs of this university since he assumed duty on 2nd of December 2024. And the race has really commenced, and things are turning around better for the University of Benin. Let's give our Vice Chancellor a round of applause. Professor Doba Omorege, son. We have representing today, as we have heard from the PRO, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, who is standing in for him today, is somebody we all know very well. Not long ago, he was here to address a gathering of this nature, and it was an occasion for him to tell us to do the needful rather than complaining in terms of funding of the Nigerian university system. Those of us who can recall his inaugural lecture, well delivered here and well attended too. Professor Victor Igbonereka is standing in for the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic. We have the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration here, Professor Chris Osubo. And we have me, who is managing one of our very essence of history of the University of Benin. When those of us were very young, like those at the back, we only knew of Ekenwa campus for University of Benin. Ugbowo later came up, and Ugbowo has taken over. But we don't want to leave the part of our history. And so we have a man there who is piloting the affairs of everything there to make sure that we return back to base where the dream was initially transformed to reality. Professor Bunyami Ayinde, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Ekenwa Campus. And of course, we have the man who had been pushing all along because he has money in his pocket, though he must not spend the money except the Vice Chancellor approves. The acting bursar of this university, a distinguished fellow of many accounting bodies, Mr. Gabriel Osadolo. We also have another very good keeper, this time around, keeper of books and scholarly publications. The Vice Chancellor told us that it may not be always right to call somebody barrister. But I know that some of us, we were told that we could call somebody barrister at law or solicitor. But this time around, the VC has told us what to call anybody who is in the realm of law profession. And that is why we have the keeper of our books as Toyo Walter Megisin Esquire, acting university librarian. We have the provost, and the first provost for that matter, of the rebranded postgraduate studies of this university, now referred to college with semi-autonomous status. Professor David Zeko, the Provost College of Postgraduate Studies. And of course, this I will continue to say, and because it's based on facts, we have a reputable College of Medical Sciences, and is leading most other colleges across the nation. We have some of the imprints of this particular college all over the world. Go to anywhere, you will see one Uniben person handling one medical thing or the other. Professor Wisi Sado, the Provost College of Medical Sciences. Please let's give him a round of applause. We have the man who is leading others. Without him and his team, this university will just be a mere academic institute. And is number one out of 701,000. He's the only one on top of that 700,000. He's a distinguished professor of economics, but he's number one student of this university. The Dean Student Affairs, Professor Atewe Igodao. We have the host dean today. In those days, we have two types of pencils. You have HB pencil. You also have 2B pencil for drawing. But this time around, we want to pick one of the pencils. Professor H.B. Osadolo, the Dean School of Basic Medical Sciences. If anything is in short supply, please use your HB to write it very well. The Dean Faculty of Agriculture is supporting him today, Professor C.O. EMOKRAE. We have also with us, we're in the land of the Osadolos. And I said if I'm going to pick a Benin name, it's likely Osadolo comes up very well. We have many Osadolos in the house. We have this time around a professor, though a law bishop, but as the Dean Faculty of Arts, Professor O.B. Osadolo. We have the Dean School of Basic Clinical Sciences, Professor V.J. Ekanem. And we have a potent dean. We have a new faculty with us now. This Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, Professor M.A. Okaku. I know that M.A. is one of them is Marcel, who is a very unique name. We have another brand new dean, another potent dean, this time around in the area of computing and information science, Professor Mrs. V.V.N. Akukuma. We have another distinguished medic this time around in the School of Dentistry. A woman who is attracting so many people to donate to the school and to the university at large. I know next time he comes around to the VC's office is to bring another alumni to donate something for us. Professor Mrs. I.N. Ize-Iyamu, the Dean School of Dentistry. We have the oldest in terms of period of service, Dean. He will call himself the oldest of the Dean. He was a very bright young man who occupied the position so early. Professor Chancellor, the Dean Faculty of Education. Please, let's clap for them. Of course, we have with us a very distinguished Dean who was chairman of our strategic plan along with the DVC administration. The Dean of Life, this time around is Life Sciences, Faculty of Life Sciences. Jesus Christ is the Dean of Life and not any particular human being. We have Professor T.O.T. Imobe, the Dean of Life Sciences. We have with us also, representing the Dean Faculty of Engineering, Professor, maybe I'm prophesying. We have Dr. C.I. Eboigwe as the representative of Dean of Engineering. Please claim the professor as he's coming out today. Please, let's give him a round of applause. We have also with us a distinguished female professor, this time around in acting capacity for Faculty of Management Sciences, Professor Mrs. E.I. Ebairo Osage. I thought the women would clap for their own this time around. It's not easy to take over from the men. We have to start it from this point. Representing the Dean School of Medicine, Professor N.O. Enaruna is also in the Vice Chancellor Central Right. I hope the camera will come up to be picking them so that we will actually see that they're there. We have the Dean of Pharmacy, who is a very good friend of the Registrar, Professor Rodao Ibe, the Dean Faculty of Pharmacy. We have the Dean Faculty of Physical Sciences, Professor E.O. Ayomi. I know we will laugh. I can always twist the pronunciation so that we will laugh very well. It's a very distinguished name that some of us in Benin here are trying to learn every day because of its meaning. The potent Dean Faculty of Nursing Science, maybe I will have to announce again, nursing is no longer a department, but now a full faculty. Yeah. And of course, many of us will think that nursing is only about female. When you say nurse, a nurse entered, and then you say, is he a male or female? Most people will say it's a female. But this time around, we have a male, not a female, as a potent Dean, Faculty of Nursing Sciences, Professor F.U. Okafor, telling us that men can also flourish in the realm of female area that they've dominated for so long. Right from Mrs. Victoria Gowon of those days, who really projected everything about nursing. We have another brand new faculty. This time around, optometry. Let's clap for optometry. It's now a faculty. And this particular person had been doing so well for admission. Virtually all the students up to 300 or 400 level will know that this person superintended over the admission. Professor Mrs. Eki Ogre is a dean, potent dean of optometry. So we have with us also the potent dean, Faculty of Science, the potent dean, Faculty of Science Technology, Science Laboratory Technology. Professor J.O. Osaruwesi. Please let's clap for him very well. It's a brand new faculty too that we are celebrating. We have with us the Dean Faculty of Social Sciences being represented by Dr. Roland Okorebo. And the Dean Faculty of Vocational and Technical Education is a new faculty, but fortunately they've had their Board of Studies and the first Dean to be appointed for that faculty, Professor Mrs. E.E. Uko Aviomo. Congratulations on your successful election. Wish you well. The Director Center for Gender Studies is also a brand new director in that place, in that center. Professor Mrs. Lucy Okupon. Please, let's give her a round of applause. Professor Hassan Oahena is also the Director Center for Educational Technology. Please, let's give him a round of applause. We have the Director of Advancement and Alumni Relations, a very distinguished professor who is known both at home and abroad, a former rector of this university, Professor Edi Erabe. The Director of Advanced Digital Engineering Center, ADEC, Professor Mrs. P. Orukwe, is also here. Of course, we have the Director of Research, Innovation and Development, DRIT, but being represented here today by another distinguished Professor of Computer Science, Professor Mrs. Susan Koyea. The Director Center for Continuing Legal Education is a new innovation in this administration to lift the legal profession. After leaving school, they can return back and refire so that they can be up and doing whenever they are at the bar. Professor D.U. Odige is the director of that new center. We have acting director Institute of Education all the way from Lekenwa campus, Professor K. Imaswe. Please, don't let us be tired of clapping. Let's be clapping. Acting Director Institute of Public Administration Health Services Management, Dr. John Osagai. And also we have the Director Center for Maritime and ICT, Dr. Efo Woire, is also here too. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you would have observed that we have a very large pool to pick from today. Is because the lecturer today is also a crowd puller, and even the title is also crowd pulling. When you read that topic, you start to wonder what the man is going to talk about, and you want to be here. Mr. Vice Chancellor, it is my singular honor to call on the acting Vice Chancellor to present the Vice Chancellor's address.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Our dear Vice Chancellor is unavoidably absent. At about this time, he is attending a very important meeting outside University of Benin to discuss and attract development to the university. He has therefore asked me to represent him in this inaugural lecture. I want to read the Vice Chancellor's address. Principal officers of the University of Benin, Provost, College of Postgraduate Studies, Provost, College of Medical Sciences, Deans of Faculties and Schools, Directors of Institutes, Members of Council, Professors, emeritari and members of Senate, my Lord spiritual and temporal, staff and students, distinguished invited guests and friends of the university, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to the 344th in the inaugural lecture series of the University of Benin. Today's lecture is the third to be delivered in the Department of Medical Laboratory Sciences, 11th in the School of Basic Medical Sciences, and the 15th to be delivered in my tenure as the Vice Chancellor of this great university. The first semester examinations for the 2024-2025 academic session have been concluded and students are currently on break. As approved by University Senate, students will return to hostels this Sunday, 29th June 2025. For the commencement of the second semester, 2024-2025. I wish to appreciate all staff and students for the successful completion of the first semester. I therefore solicit for your cooperation of all staff, students, and stakeholders to enable the second semester to run smoothly. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our lecturer for today. He is Professor MATHIAS ABIODUN EMOKRAE. The title of his lecture is Disappearing Sperm. It's even worse than what you think, but it was not so from the beginning. Professor MATHIAS ABIODUN EMOKRAE was born on January 1st, 1962 in Utekon to the family of Mr. Aminara and Mrs. Rose EMOKRAE of Utekon, both of blessed memory. He had his primary school education at UNA Primary School, Utekon, to obtain his primary school living certificate in 1975. He first attended Edo College and later Adolo College and later Edo College, Benin City, where he obtained the West African School Certificate in 1982. Thereafter, he gained admission to the School of Medical Laboratory Science, University of Benin Teaching Hospital, UBTH, where he obtained the Associate Institute of Medical Laboratory Science in 1988. Professor EMOKRAE did his one-year mandatory National Youth Service in Gombe, General Hospital, Gombe State, from 1988 to 1989. After his NYSC, he worked briefly at Medilab Diagnostics and School of Health Technology, Kano, from 1990 to 1991. He thereafter joined the services of Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, Kano State, as one of the pioneer staff when it was established in 1992. And he rose to the position of Chief Medical Laboratory Scientist before transferring services to the University of Benin in 2009. In his quest for more knowledge, Professor EMOKRAE obtained the following additional degrees through scholarships. Masters of Science degree in Biochemistry, 1995, MPhil Medical Biochemistry, 2005, and PhD in Medical Biochemistry, 2010. All the postgraduate degrees are from the University of Benin. He He also obtained a certificate in instructional skill development 1993, as well as a certificate in foundation bioinformatics in 2019. Professor EMOKRAE joined the service of the University of Benin in 2009 as a lecturer 1 in the Department of Medical Laboratory Science, School of Basic Medical Sciences, and rose through the ranks to become a professor in 2018. He has held several administrative positions within and outside the university, such as member, Friends of the Hospital Association, Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, 2000 to 2006, Chairman Local Organizing Committee, AMLS Kano 2005, Member Research Grant Committee, AKTH Kano 2006 to 2009, Desk Officer, Service Improvement Servicom, AKTH Kano 2007 to 2009, Member Drugs Reagents Revolving Fund Committee, AKTH Kano 2007 to 2009. Member Continuous Medical Education Committee, AKTH Kano 2007 to 2009. Member Renal Transplantation Committee, AKTH Kano 2007 to 2009. He was a representative of School of Basic Medical Sciences, Faculty of Life Sciences, Board of Studies, University of Benin, 2010. Secretary Screening Committee, University of Benin, 2010 to 2015. Member Local Organizing Committee, ALNSN Edo State Conference, 2012. He was acting head of Department of Medical Laboratory Science, 2014 to 2016, and again 2016 to 2017. He represented the School of Basic Medical Sciences Postgraduate Studies Board 2018 to 2022. Member Quality Assurance Committee 2021 to date. Member College of Research Ethics Committee 2023 to date. Professor EMOKRAE is a member fellow of several professional bodies and associations, which include Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria, Nigerian Society of Clinical Chemists, Fellow Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria, Fellow West African Postgraduate College Medical Laboratory Science, Fellow Chartered Public Manager, and of course, again, is a fellow Scholars, Academies, and Scientific Society. He is a recipient of the following awards. Award nominee, Royal International Research for Reproductive Biomedicine and Stem Cells Biotechnology, Iran, 2007. Award for second best paper presentation, hematology category, ANLSN Scientific Conference, Akure, in 2014. African Hero Award by Global Skills Hub, UK, 2023. Outstanding Lecturer of the Year Award by Global Skills Hub, UK, 2023. Professor EMOKRAE has successfully supervised many masters, 10 PhDs, and several undergraduate students. He has over 200 publications, comprising chapters in books and articles in peer-reviewed journals. He is the editor, Journal of Basic and Applied Medical Sciences, and he has served as editorial team management editor, associate editor to so many reputable journals. He has also served as external examiner, assessor, resource person, to some federal, state, and private universities. Professor EMOKRAE has attended several local, national, and international symposia, workshops, and conferences. Professor EMOKRAE's hobbies are football and wrestling. He is a devout Christian of the Pentecostal faith, and he worships at Church of God Mission International. The inaugural lecturer is married to Dr. Mrs. Lovett ABIODUN EMOKRAE, and the union is blessed with 4 children. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite Professor MATHIAS ABIODUN EMOKRAE to deliver his lecture.
Vice Chancellor, sir, principals officers of the university, provosts, deans, and directors, I crave your indulgence to stand on the existing protocol. The lecture, the title of my lecture this evening is Disappearing Sperm. It's even worse than what you think, but it was not so from the beginning. This lecture is dedicated to God Almighty, the creator of heaven and earth, the one who has been my helper. To him be the glory, honor, and adoration in Jesus' name. To my parents, Mr. Amenawo EMOKRAE and Mrs. Rose Amioma EMOKRAE, both of blessed memory. It's also dedicated to all men we have investigated for infertility. And lastly, it's dedicated to one of my teachers, late Professor A.A. Famodu. He was the one that taught me how to conduct research following ethical standards. This lecture will follow this outline. I give God praise for granting me the opportunity to stand before this esteemed audience this evening in this prestigious University of Benin to deliver this lecture, 344 in the series in this university. It is the third from the Department of Medical Laboratory Science, and number 3 in the scripture stands for Trinity, completeness, wholeness, resurrection, and harmony. In my earlier years, I wanted to be a pharmacist. I stayed with my uncle, who was a medicine dealer, patent medicine dealer. I learned the job very fast, and I wanted to make money. And I asked him one day, why is it that we do not sell certain drugs? He told me, you must be a pharmacist so that you can sell certain drugs. That day I told him, I was leaving, I want to go and read pharmacy. However, whom I made plans, God's ways prevailed. I opted for medical laboratory science because I was given a scholarship. As a matter of fact, God has been good to me. During my PhD program in this university, my academic father and mentor, Professor P.O. Uwadia, is there. He encouraged me to apply to University of Benin so that I can help to develop the Department of Medical Laboratory Science. As a matter of fact, I was not interested because of the privileges I enjoy in my place of work. On 3 occasions, he asked me, have you sent the application? And the third one, I understand him very well. I knew he was not happy with me. I decided to submit the application. And when the appointment came, I applied for a secondment just to come and test ground. And after all, tell him why I will not stay and go away. When I was paid the first salary, I went to meet him and said, sir, I have been paid. Look at my salary. Look at what I earn, where I'm coming from. He smiles and said, young man, politely accept it, and you will soon get used to it. So, thank you, sir, for bearing with my excesses. My Vice Chancellor, sir, the declining human sperm quality over the last few decades has remained a critical concern to reproductive scientists all over the world. Virtually all indices of sperm cells are affected. All indices. The declining trend has raised serious concern concerning reproductive health. The contributing factors are mainly changes in lifestyle habits, exposures to environmental toxicants, and certain medical conditions. The disappearing sperm may be due to impact of modern living. More men are producing poorer quality sperm now than decades ago. Even though sperm count is considered by experts as an imperfect proxy for fertility, it is closely associated with male fertility. Because it is not only sperm count we do. Even though sperm cells might be normal, the chemical components of the smell that make up the smell itself might be defective. One may be deceived that you have normal sperm count but cannot reproduce. There are reasons, and this we have been working on. We have been conducting studies on the possible causes and how to enhance sperm quality using modifiable lifestyle behaviors. In this lecture, we will be looking at some of the identified causes of disappearing sperm and what should be done to alleviate the scourge. The usefulness of sperm analysis are so many. Can be used to assist fertility and infertility diagnosis, assessing male reproductive health and its functions, to guide the choice of artificial reproductive technology, to monitor response to treatment, and to measure the efficacy of male contraception. The origin of semen analysis can be traced to the 17th century, when a man called Van Leeuwenhoek developed or improved on the microscope to achieve a magnification of 300. And one of his students was the first to use use that microscope to look at sperm cells or spermatozoa or semen from a man that was suffering from gonorrhea. He saw moving objects and he called it animals in the sperm cell. But it was not until ovum was discovered that scientists now began to know what those animals were. MATHIAS and co-workers were the first to emphasize the importance of investigating male infertility using sperm analysis. And a gentleman called Kerry was the first to standardize the practice. Semen analysis can be done using several methods. Could be microscopic and other several methods that we are now using. Our creation, God said, be fruitful and multiply. That was the first command that was given in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. The ability to produce offspring is listed as man's reward for fulfilling the covenant God made with man in Genesis 17. However, infertility may be inferred from the scripture. If you look at the levirate marriage, where a man who did not give birth to children before he dies, his wife will be given to his relative to produce children on his behalf. Also, in the book of Ruth, we learned that a man, Elimelech and Naomi, had two children, Malon and Chilon, who did not bear children before they died. But Moses prayed in the scripture, there shall none be barren among you. Who has done this? Male fertility was not intended at creation, as I've said, but when men slept, enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat. According to Proverbs 26 verse 2b, a curse without a cause shall not stand. And this is supported in science if we look at Newton's second law. If a force is applied to a body, the velocity of that body is proportional to the magnitude of the force and inversely proportional to the mass of the object. If we marry this together, it implies that human activities, lifestyle behaviors, inadequately treated sicknesses and diseases, as well as ignorance, is responsible for the disappearing sperm. One can categorically say that disappearing sperm was not so from the beginning. Evidence has shown that for whatever reason, sperm indices have been declining all over the world. Studies done in Europe indicated that the decline has taken place and is up to 50%. Nigeria is no different. In fact, Nigeria lies within what they call infertility belt of sub-Sahara Africa. In fact, sperm quality indices is becoming poorer by the day. This we have been singing by several publications we have made, stating that there should be a concerted effort to provide solution to declining trend and rescue men from the public health issues requiring attention. We published this, EMOKRAE et al. 2005, EMOKRAE et al. 2009, Uwadia and EMOKRAE 2015. Vice Chancellor, sir, in the 1940s, the lower limit of the reference range for semen analysis was 60 million per male. 60 million per male. And researchers carried out a study in 100 people, and they found out, and that was why McLeod wrote, I quote, I think that if we are to select a count level to represent the demarcation line between poor and fed fertility, that of 60 ml per cc would be a wise choice. In that study, more than 65% of the people had sperm count greater than 100 million per male. Even when the first reference range was done, they pegged it at 60 million. McLeod and Gold in 1950 also did a study using 1,000 men and reported a mean of 107 million per male. However, the first reported mean sperm count decreased in the year 1974, and it went down to 48 million. 48 million. That was then. The reported decline aroused the curiosity of many researchers, and they intensified studies on this particular issue. Systematic review of reports of semen quality parameters covering over 50 years was carried out, and they confirmed that actually there was a decrease. As scientists, when somebody reports a thing that is different from the normal, we query it. And it attracted a lot of criticism because of the observed limitations that they found. That was why in 2017, another systematic review was carried out, reviewing about 185 studies involving 42,435 men. And they concluded there was a decline in sperm quality indices, even in America, North America, Europe, and Australia. Again, some people criticized this, and in 2019, another person conducted a retrospective analysis of about 119,972 men from 2002 to 2017, and he reported a 10% decrease in sperm quality indices. Disappearing sperm cannot be ignored unless something urgent is done. The resulting health risk is better imagined than experienced. Disappearing sperm is even worse than what you think. If you look at this flow chart, right from inception in 1929 to the last WHO publication of 2021, you will see that at inception was greater than 16 million. 1979, 48 million. 1980, 20. 2010, 15. The next one, the discussion has started. It might go up to 10 million. If you look at these points where this decrease occurs, it coincided with industrialization, lifestyle changes and urbanization, as well as microcomputer revolution. I know all of us, as we are seated there, all of us, we are carrying computer along with us. The decline in sperm quality indices in sub-Saharan Africa, for want of time, we just look at two countries, Nigeria and South Africa. In Nigeria, there was a decline in sperm concentration of 13%, progressive motility 86%, total motility 77.9%, and a slight increase in sperm count of 2.2. There were no changes in morphology and sperm volume. But in South Africa, you had a decline of sperm concentration of 7.4%, and normal morphology of 55%. Total sperm count 0.1, and the volume 13%. This was published by ECAN recently, 2023. Look at this. This is WHO manual, right from inception in 1980 to 2021. If you look at it, the normal range from those editions is what we put here. If you see from the 4th edition of 1999, compare it with the 6th edition, the latest, of 2021, you will observe that there was a decrease in volume, decrease in count, decrease in total count, decrease in total morphology, decrease in progressive motility, and decrease in morphology. Main factor infertility. From studies done all over Nigeria, it was reported that 50% in Midwestern state, where we are, 42.4 in Southwest, 40 in Northeast, 40.8 in Kano. We published that in 2005. 46 in Ile-Ife, and 50 to 93 in the East. Despite the high prevalence, no significant effort has been made in tackling the problem. It is likely to increase if adequate measures are not taken. Why the neglect? Why the neglect? Declining sperm quality has remained a neglected public health problem. Since the program of action to unite fertility control with prevention and treatment of infertility was done in Cairo in 1994 by the International Conference for Population and Development, no concerted effort has been made to combat it. Not a single program of reproductive health care is addressing the plight of millions of couples who are unable to reproduce. Donors organizations have argued that since there is overpopulation, infertility management should not be prioritized. It is important to know that the rate of fertility coexists with high rate of infertility in sub-Saharan Africa. They argued more pressing concern around overpopulation and the need to control the overpopulation, scarcity of resources, competing public health priorities, and lack of tracking system for declining sperm quality parameters. What are the dangers? There has been association between poor sperm quality with cardiovascular, metabolic, oncologic diseases, as well as rate of hospitalization. The relationship has been attributed to genetic, developmental, and behavioral causes. That is why this issue is referred to as canary in a coal mine. My Vice Chancellor, sir, my interest in sperm quality parameters started in the year 2000 when Aminu Kano's Teaching Hospital acquired sophisticated equipment. Then we immediately formed research groups, multidisciplinary research groups, to be able to harness the gains from the purchase of those equipment. I'm happy to say that all members of that research group are professors all over Nigeria today. I was inspired by what I heard from clients. Their insights and experience prompted me to dedicate my efforts towards understanding and addressing the challenges associated with male reproductive health. I have give you two cases. One of them, a businessman, married to 2 wives. They did not have children. The youngest one left him and got married to another person, became pregnant. When the pregnancy was evidence for everybody to see, the man said the woman will always come to his business premises and be moving from one end to the other. He said, he pleaded with us. He pleaded for assistance, expressing desperation in hushed tone. The second one was a man who had problem with co-tenant and resulted to name calling. And the person called in February. Meaning, incomplete man. Since the number of days in February is not up to 30 or 31 days. Vice Chancellor, sir, we evaluated sperm quality parameters in 500 subjects, and we observed that 58.2 of them had low sperm quality indices. And the finding is not only peculiar to the count, but other indices. EMOKRAE et al. 2005. This slide you are seeing represents different shapes of spermatozoa. Round head, pea head, taper head, and bent neck. These are abnormalities. We began looking at modifiable lifestyle factors, which include diet, infection, inflammation, drug use, marijuana, environmental toxicants, and so on. The food we eat contains micronutrients. And these trace elements are crucial. They play a crucial role in sperm physiology. They act as cofactors for the enzymes. They act as antioxidants. They contribute to the structural components of the spermatozoa. They also help to regulate hormone and motility and capacitation. And let me warn, high concentration of copper is toxic. That is why the studies will be looking at, if you have a high copper zinc ratio, it can lead to oxidative stress, lipid peroxidation, DNA damage, reduced motility, viability, and abnormal morphology. We exploit, this was the first research I did. We exploit the relationship between seminal plasma calcium, and the findings suggest a link between calcium levels and the health of functionality of sperm cells. The exact role was not known then. EMOKRAE and EMOKRAE, 1997. We also determined manganese, zinc, copper level in serum as seminal plasma. And the findings indicated that zinc were low, while manganese and copper zinc ratio were elevated. Seminal plasma manganese level inversely correlated with sperm quality indices, EMOKRAE and Bamidele 2023. In 2 other studies, we looked at copper and zinc in Western Nigeria, and the report was the same. Copper-zinc ratio is a significant indicator of male fertility potential. EMOKRAE Ikwe-Jamoye 2020, EMOKRAE Amurukeji 2020. When I started, we said sperm indices is not limited to the count. If inside of the spermatozoa, if the chemical components of those things that make it up are defective, they are not likely to perform their function. Therefore, we look at 8-hydroxy-deoxyguanosine in these people, and we observe that they were increased. This suggests that oxidative damage among people with poor sperm quality parameters is on the high side, meaning the DNA damage in the sperm cells is maybe responsible. Yusuf and EMOKRAE 2021. The impact of aging on male fertility is attributed to the production of poor quality and quantity of spermatozoa that can lead to increased risk of abnormal pregnancy, production of genetically defective spermatozoa, and transmission of germline mutation to offspring. We published this, EMOKRAE and Chima 2018, EMOKRAE and Igaro 2020. In that publication, we propose a mechanism whereby linking synesis with apoptosis, oxidative stress, and fertility. We looked at DNA fragmentation index and sperm functional characteristics, and we found out that from the study that sperm DNA fragmentation index in men with poor semen quality were significantly higher than the controls, and this was inversely correlated with total count, functional sperm concentration, and motor sperm index. Ilegoge and EMOKRAE 2021. DNA fragmentation index and age. The rise in sperm DNA fragmentation index suggests that the genetic integrity of sperm is compromised as men grow older, which can have implications for fertility and health of the potential children. So, this slide simply shows how we identify DNA fragmentation index in the laboratory. I will not bother you because you will have to come to the lab to learn. We also try to do a Bose and Whisker plot linking age with DNA damage. We observe that from 50 years, the damage is higher than less than 50 years. Potential risk of synesis and sperm DNA damage in progeny. Sperms with damaged DNA may carry abnormal genetic material, which can result in a range of negative outcome for offspring. This outcome can include increased risk of genetic disorders, developmental issues, and even miscarriages. The potential for such adverse effect underscores the importance or considering the timing of fatherhood, as advanced paternal age has been associated with higher likelihood of these complications. EMOKRAE et al. 2016, EMOKRAE and Owadia 2017. We also evaluated the contribution of microbial infection on poor quality sperm quality indices, and the finding indicated that in 2009 we suggested that normal floras, things that we regarded as normal floras, should be treated because we did not know what is happening. With a particular reference, I want to say with emphasis, that chlamydia and ureaplasma should be screened in all men seeking to have children, because they can cause serious devastating problems in men. We also evaluated serum hormones in 500 men between 2001 and 2004, and we found out that 18.6% had abnormal imbalances, hormonal imbalances, and we concluded that hormonal abnormalities are common and could impact sperm quality indices. EMOKRAE et al. 2007. We also investigated the occupational distribution of men and pattern of hormonal abnormalities in men in Osun State. And we found out that artisans, workers in chemical-related industries, businessmen were likely to be predisposed to hormonal abnormalities. This we published in 2021. We look at the impact of alcohol. It is difficult to ask human beings to drink alcohol. We decided to use animals. And because it is not known what concentration of alcohol can do damage, we decided to give different grades of alcohol to rabbits. And we found out that sex hormones were all affected. Sperm count, motility affected. As a matter of fact, testosterone, FSH, LH, and sperm indices correlated negatively with the concentration of the alcohol. Usabo here in EMOKRAE 2018. In other studies, we decided to look at micronutrients. We looked at zinc, copper, magnesium, and calcium. And we found out that serum zinc, copper, magnesium, and calcium all decreased with increasing concentration of alcohol given. And it appears that chronic use of alcohol, especially concentration greater than 6%, can affect the micronutrients. EMOKRAE and Osain-Oriabe 2017. Because drug abuse is so common among our students, we decided to look at tramadol in rabbits. What can it do? We gave tramadol for 15 and 30 days, and we found out that sperm quality indices decreased. EMOKRAE et al. 2022. We also look at the effect of tramadol on the testicular morphology, and we discovered that the Leydig cells and the wide intertubular spaces were affected in tramadol users. It was concluded that tramadol abuse may be harmful and may exert damaging effect on testicular tissues. EMOKRAE et al. 2022. We look at marijuana. Marijuana use may be common among men presenting with infertility. And we advise that detailed probing of lifestyle behavior of subjects being evaluated may go a long way in assisting in the diagnosis and management of infertile subjects. Abnormal sperm indices were significantly higher among marijuana users than control, and sex hormones were lower. Note, the decline in the level of sperm quality parameter and sex hormone is proportional to the duration of marijuana use. Stephen and EMOKRAE, 2021. We look at the impact of toxicants. Environmental toxicants such as cadmium, lead, mercury can cause serious reproductive damage due to their ability to disrupt the blood-thirsty barrier via specific signal transduction pathway and signaling molecules. We determine these toxic metals in people in Benin City not exposed, occupationally exposed. The average concentration of cadmium, lead, mercury were observed to be significantly higher. As the concentration of these toxic metals increased, there was a corresponding decline in sperm quality indices. This elevation in toxic metals levels suggests a potential environmental or lifestyle factor contributing to poor sperm quality indices. EMOKRAE et al. 2015A, EMOKRAE Adobo 2015B, EMOKRAE et al. 2020B. We look at the impact of the use of pesticides on semen quality, because evidence suggests that farmers in Nigeria use large amounts of classes 1 and 2 pesticides, which are considered by WHO as extremely hazardous and highly hazardous. The reason is that they are cheaper. When we conducted a study among farmers in Akumba, Akoko, Ondo State, findings revealed that sex hormones were affected, and some 40.5% of pesticide-exposed farmers had serum testosterone below the lower limit of the reference range. Very serious. Among the exposed farmers, 16.7 had poor quality indices, and over 70% of the farmers were unaware of the dangers of using pesticide, and only 23.8 has used PPD. This suggests a critical need to increase education and awareness program about the risk of pesticide exposure. This slide on the right shows how to use pesticide, and the one on the left, just a farmer wore a pair of trousers and slippers. This is not how to use it. And we also determine how the water we drink affects sperm quality. And we found out that among people that drink water from hand-dug well and borehole, toxic metals were increased in the water, and the level were higher than the permissible limit recommended by WHO. And we found out also that blood cadmium and lead were elevated, and serum sex hormone were also low. We looked at what we call bisphenol A, which is an environmental toxicant, And we found out that bisphenol A were elevated in people with poor semen quality. This we published also in 2023 and A and 2023B. Proteins in semen. Examples of those proteins is alpha-nucleosidase. And we found out that they were significantly reduced in these people. This finding underscores the potential of alpha-glucosidase in sperm function and motility. Murukenji and EMOKRAE, 2020A. Obesity is a factor. And what we found out is that people that are obese, we have poor quality sperm indices and increased creatine kinase and enzyme, as well as lipid peroxidation in their semen. Babatunde and EMOKRAE, 2022. We look at acrosin. If you look at sperm head, the top, there is an enzyme that is located on the top. When it hits the woman egg, that head is what is using to digest the cell wall before it can enter. And we discovered that this is affected. This is what I'm telling you. You see sperm dead, how it should look like. The strategies to enhance. We observe that if we conduct a study using supplementing curcumin to improve sperm quality parameters, and we found out that it can reverse cadmium chloride injury in sperm in rabbits or rats. Sorry. Evidence indicates also that curcumin can prevent oxidative stress, can regulate hormones, and protect the testes. Lifestyle modifications such as smoking, cessation, minimizing alcohol consumption, maintaining regular sleep, engaging in regular aerobic exercise, consuming fresh fruits, vegetables, and avoiding diet high in saturated fat and sources of radiation have been suggested as simple and practical effective methods for improving DNA integrity and sperm quality indices. EMOKRAE and Brown, 2021. Practical recommendations. In our publication in the Journal of Reproduction of 2021, we recommended the following: that age plays a factor, it plays a role. Also, couple trying to achieve pregnancy should reduce or abstain from alcohol, smoking, or drug. And weight also play a role. Try and reduce your weight. Couples seeking conception should avoid anxiety, emotional stress, but embark on realization program to reduce their sources of stress. Also, regular exercise helps because it helps to produce what we call endorphins. Nutrition and exercise also improve it, and it is best to avoid unnecessary medication and recreational drugs. Avoid exposure to environmental toxicants. This may not be possible, but it can be reduced. Conclusion: several of our studies assess how lifestyle factors impact sperm quality indices. The need to make appropriate behavioral changes to stem the tide of disappearing sperm cells in Nigeria is imperative. More reproductive health education is needed to create the necessary awareness of the causes of poor sperm quality indices. Addressing the plight of millions of men affected by these poor sperm quality indices should be made a public health concern. The issue of disappearing sperm is underestimated and ignored for too long. It is worse than what you think. Acknowledgments. I am grateful to God Almighty. I have learned to trust Him. I do not lean on my understanding. To him be the glory. I wish to thank our dear Vice Chancellor, Professor Edoba Bright Omorigi, SAN, for this opportunity to present this inaugural lecture. You began your assignment as Vice Chancellor with great enthusiasm. May God grant you the grace and wisdom and good health to finish strong in Jesus' name. I appreciate the principal officers, Professor Osumbo, my teacher, sir. Professor Victor Bineraka, the DVC ACAD. My brother, Professor Ayinde, DVC Ekewan. And Mr. Ademola Bobola, the registrar. The librarian, Barrister Megasin. And our brother, Mr. Gabriel Urion Usadolo. May God grant you all the grace to achieve success in your assignments. The memory of the just is blessed, according to Proverbs chapter 10, verse 7. With this, I appreciate Professor E.P. Kubenje, who approved my transfer to University of Benin. Professor O.G. Oshodi, who made my stay at University of Benin less stressful. He offered my wife a job in this university. And Bishop Professor V.I. Yahweh, who facilitated my relocation to Benin City. I also appreciate Professor F.O. Orumesi, who announced my promotion to a full professor. To my academic father, Professor P.O. Uwadia, who insisted that I transfer my service to the University of Benin, despite my initial resistance. Thank you, sir. My fear was the reduction in my salary. I appreciate all the provosts, deans, and colleagues in the College of Medical Sciences, and School of Basic Medical Sciences. I appreciate the Enogi of Utekon, the EMOKRAE family, the Benovia family, Ehana family, Idubo family, Isibo family, and Ugumago family, as well as the indigenous of Utekon community. I thank the Archbishop of CGMI, my zonal coordinator, sir, and the wife, Professor MSO IC and wife, all ministers in CGM. I also appreciate all ministers of the gospel for your prayers and love. And lastly, I express my deepest gratitude to my wife, Dr. Mrs. Lovett Emopai, and my children for their unwavering support, patience, and for always being my rock. Thank you.
Please a standing ovation for our inaugural lecturer, Professor MATHIAS ABIODUN EMOKRAE. A resounding one for him, please. I hope there are no Februarys here. So please a resounding one for him. Thank you so much, sir. Please you may be seated. I'd like to invite the Vice Chancellor to do a recap of this evening's lecture.
Thank you very much. The synopsis of the inaugural lecture. The focus of fertility experts and biomedical scientists has been overwhelming on women's fertility issues, while male infertility has been neglected. The declining sperm quality parameters is worse than what you think, but was not so from the beginning. It is now known that male factor is responsible for half of infertility challenges. This condition is worse in the so-called infertility belt of sub-Saharan Africa. In Nigeria, studies have revealed notable reductions in sperm concentration, progressive mortality, the total count of morphologically normal sperm and ejaculatory volume within a period of 10 years. Despite the progressive decline in sperm quality parameters, no significant efforts have been made in tackling the problem. The impact of the declining sperm quality, the impact of the declining sperm quality indices is likely to increase if adequate measures are not taken. In the past, it was even assumed that infertility in Africa did not warrant specific intervention, since many African countries have high fertility rates. The inaugural lecturer discussed the possible causes of the progressive decline with emphasis on modifiable lifestyle factors. Addressing this issue requires a multifaceted approach that involves, number one, quality health initiatives, 2, environmental regulation, 3, medical research, and 4, social support. Modifiable lifestyle factors play important role in the general health and well-being of individuals, including fertility. After careful review of research findings, the inaugural lecturer came up with some practical recommendations to modify lifestyle behaviors to enhance fertility. Understanding the various processes through which modifiable lifestyle behaviors impair fertility will help to assist in the management of affected individuals. Let's put our hands together for the inaugural lecture. As a matter of fact, I was expecting the inaugural lecturer to recommend Professor Osagede Remedy. All through I was listening to hear Remekwekwe, and we thank the inaugural lecturer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chancellor. We invite the inaugural lecturer and members of his immediate family upstage for the decoration. Let me also mention that the Vice Chancellor's procession was led by the Deputy Registrar, Senate Matters, Mrs. Comfort Eidiato. We invite Dr. Mrs. Lovett Amenagawa Emopai to the stage. Dr. Mrs. Ehi Emopai Ariage, you're welcome. Dr. Mrs. Ewa Emopai Aruhe, you're welcome. Ms. Esther Emopai, Mr. Michael Ode, children of our inaugural lecturer. You're welcome.
Come and take picture, come.
In no particular order, we welcome other distinguished persons here present. We welcome a very distinguished family member, Pa Alunge Yesufu. We welcome also former chairman of their LGA, Honorable Isaac and Mrs. Behana JP. We welcome also the minority leader, Edo House of Assembly, Honorable Barrister Charity Igodala. Just a moment, please. There is enough food to go around, so please let's apply some decorum. The Vice Chancellor, the ceremony is still on. Please apply some decorum in the hall. There is enough to go around. We welcome also retired Director of the Department of State Services, Godwin O. Ignovia. We welcome Professor Raymond Elaho. We welcome Professor Emeritus, I beg your pardon, Raymond Elaho. We welcome Professor Emeritus Nosa Ehafuna. We welcome also the immediate past Dean School of Basic Medical Sciences, Professor Freddy Agoreyo. We welcome Professor Maureen Ebomoyi, Professor Martins Aisen, you're welcome. Professor Patrick Wadia, you're welcome. Professor Mrs. Patience Isemila, you're welcome. Professor Kingsley and Professor Mrs. Adenike Ahigbe, you're welcome. Professor Julia Nbebu, you're welcome. We welcome also Professor Isaiah Ibe, former Dean School of Basic Medical Sciences. We welcome also to this inaugural lecture Professor Solomon Omoniho. We welcome Professor Mrs. Henrietta Obo. We welcome Professor Patrick Oseyemo. Professor Joseph Oseweha, you're welcome. Professor Godfrey Ariade, you're welcome. Professor Ofiafo Eya, you're welcome. Professor Mrs. Siva Ogwana, you're welcome. Professor Henry Okeri, you're most welcome. We welcome Professor Yabodi Wabreze. Professor Matthew Olaniyo, you're most welcome. We welcome also Professor Mrs. Roslyn Esewe, Professor Mrs. Faustina Idu, you are most welcome. We welcome Professor Jennifer Ebebe, and more also this evening we have with us the Enoge of Oteko community, His Royal Highness Enoge Egwage Omori. You're welcome, Your Royal Highness. We bring this inaugural lecture to a close this evening with the Uniben anthem and then the third stanza of the national anthem. Vice Chancellor's procession leaves this auditorium.